to the Chicago Dota 2 Open, sponsored by SteelSeries, Ignite, Marlini Dota, and Dustoff. And I'm Vikrmond. We're going to see another game. We will not. I want to quickly introduce everybody that's on with me. We won't have Tweak, but he did do stats for pretty much all day today, so I was really happy about that. And we have our man on the inside, Justin, co-casting. How are you, man?
Pretty good. Just got the microphone ready. I'm excited for this game.
Sick. Yeah, honestly, this should be a really, really good game. Maybe I wanted to say our best game of the day, but we already had a really, really good game earlier. So I'm happy even if this is one-sided. Actually, I might be even happier because I have to head to a movie after this. But we have TMCP versus UMAD, and these are basically two of the teams considered favorites for the tournament. They've been playing really, really solid. And I think you had an opinion about this game, so why don't you go ahead and say what you think is going to happen.
Yeah, well, two main carry players is the defending champions. They have experience playing together as a team. All five of those guys have played together for a long time. They just haven't gone to many tournaments. And the last Chicago LAN was an opportunity for them, and they excelled really well. Yeah, and I think they have that going for them here again in this tournament. Whereas the UW-Madison team does have a couple newer players. It's kind of it's some good players mixed in with some newer players. So
sure,
there's some experience lacking, though. Yeah,
I definitely think that they haven't played together as much as the Shibby stack that TMCP has, because I think Spitwad agreed to ring for them pretty recently for this tournament, like maybe a week or two ago. And he's done very, very well. He actually wrecked mid as Dragon Knight, the other game that we watched. So they've done very well for themselves. Last time we did see TMCP, who were then called Please Gank Shibby. I won't say they rolled, but they did very, very, very convincingly basically every round. And we'll have to see if they have as easy of a path this time, because I feel like everybody else has stepped their game up quite a bit.
Yeah, one of the things TMCP really likes to do is play very aggressive. And when you're playing an aggressive lineup and you just have a little bit more skill than your opponents, every game looks like a stomp. And that's kind of what TMCP looked like in the last tournament.
Yeah.
So as soon as they meet their match, I don't know if they're quite prepared for the reactionary measures they need to take when their aggressive style isn't paying out for them.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, the fact is, you're completely right. They play very aggressive to the point of they just run like mass phase boots. Like I saw Shibby go phase boots earlier today on Puck, which is not that usual of a choice. But if you're going super ham, you're going in, you're trying to kill people all the time. That can be a choice that either pays off really well, or you suddenly, if it gets turned around on you, if UMAD can play a nice, tight, conservative game and just break out and do a lot of damage, then, yeah, I mean, we could definitely see TMCP punished. But they've gone with, so this is the second time today I've seen this draft from them, the second pick Venge. What does the Venge this early give you? What's the idea behind this pick?
You haven't played your cards yet, is what I think it gives you. Venge is a good counter to a few heroes, Enigma being one of the ones that most people come to mind. But when you want to play really aggressive, Vengeful Spirit is a great Roman-type hero. He doesn't necessarily have to be in a lane, can move anywhere, fit anywhere, and has a great skill set to go along with it.
Yeah, I mean, certainly it's very, very versatile. It's a little more survivable now. It did get changed. It got a little bit more strength gain. And if you can find even a little bit of levels, you can do very well. I guess the cool thing with Venge, too, is you pick it and people aren't sure what build you're going, where different builds fit into completely different strategies. Like, you can go hard auras with certain kinds of, like, aura stack comp, or you can just go mass roam comp with heavy stun. They are on Radiant, so they can't really do the fast Roche max Wave of Terror first, but that is another option when you pick Venge, I guess.
Yeah, and UW-Madison's picking, they're banning out the heroes I think that they're most scared of. The OD ban being the fourth ban is, pretty much where OD is seen as the bans in the metagame right now. Just because they don't have their mid player yet, and they just want to ensure that they have a chance in that middle lane.
Right, yeah, I mean, when you select, especially if you're going to try to go for an int mid, you could just get trashed so incredibly heavily by that Outworld Devourer that sometimes, yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense to just do a ban on that. Can I call you back on Skype? Actually, you've got a little bit of weird, like, not background noise, but there's like a whistling noise that I want to try and see if I can get out.
Okay.
Alright, I'll call you back, like, right now. Alright, so let's dial him back in, see if that... I think it's better, actually. Say something?
Yeah.
Okay, it sounds a million times better. The weird whistling thing is gone.
All right.
Maybe that's just my tinnitus or something, actually. I don't even know.
No, it sounds different to me too.
All right, fair enough. So, heading into the second pick phase, once again we see TMCP just goes really hard on supports. So, they did this in the last game as well. This time they take out Naga in the first phase. Makes perfect sense, and Snare, pretty sick spell. And then Shadow Demon and Nyx both dropped out. So I think the Shadow Demon ban happened before the OD ban. Sorry, the Nyx ban happened. So once they saw that Nyx was gone, they definitely didn't want to have to fight against an OD. And UW Mad goes for Storm Spirit. So definitely taking a bit more of an aggressive posture. This is definitely a hero where you want to go in really, really hard. It's interesting that they've chosen to do it without Lifestealer. So it's just Storm to just secure a really, really strong mid-game. What's your response if you're TMCP?
Well, the response here is I think they're still going to go for what they want. The issue that Storm poses to their lineup is Storm can get right in the middle and the thick of them, or maybe into the back of the fight, and pick off the guys that they're hoping to protect, while the rest of their team is diving. And that was the point of the Shadow Demon and Nyx ban. If Nyx is on the field, then they can't really walk around the map without Nyx spotting them out and initiating and killing one of them instantly every time. Shadow Demon too. If you're trying to play very aggressive and dive, Shadow Demon's going to save the player every single time, and you're going to fail your aggressive strategy. So that's why they banned those two heroes out there. And now they pick with the Gyro, and that's a great hero to go with a very aggressive lineup.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if they can slow somebody down, if this is their tri lane, it's a very, very, very strong. It's a good 3v3 lane. It's good even if they, run it safe. It's very, very versatile. Now it's just a matter of finding the right solo laners to complement it, and because it is a lane that I think can probably go aggressive and do pretty well, they're very, very free to pick that other solo. Like, they just need a decent mid to fight Storm, which is fine. Storm doesn't dominate the strong mids that you can select against him, and then they can basically have anything for their solo lane that they want to guarantee some farm up for.
Yeah, and TMCP right now, their lineup is struggling for BKB control. Alchemist and Storm Spirit, if both of them farm BKBs, TMCP might run into some issues, because Vengeful, Stun, or Swap really isn't enough to just hold that down on their own. And they opted to go with the Razor. And the Razor's good because Razor can play very aggressive, doesn't need a whole lot of items, but just doesn't die, survives the fight, and just causes a lot of havoc. And I really like the Razor pick, but they're still struggling for BKB control in case this game goes super late.
Yeah, that's a good point. The nice thing with the Razor, I guess, is he does some of his toolkit does actually. It doesn't actually disable somebody in BKB, but it will still go through it. I mean, the ultimate will still land on people who are magic immune. The static link will continue to tick, even if he's on Alchemist. The static link will still give Razor more and more damage. So I like this. It really pressures. It's a nice pressure pick after UW Mad select two solo lane heroes who really don't auto attack that hard. And Star Spirit's auto attack is okay, but he gets a lot of it out of the overload. So Razor puts them under a ton of pressure in the sense that if the Alchemist can't just sort of overwhelm the Razor, they're down to like a half an auto attacker hero and just relying on that big Darkseer induced combo, which they still don't have the back half of, I feel.
Yeah, well, one thing I like about the Gyro Razor combo is they clear out creep waves with their carry heroes. Right. And they really covered a hole that they had in their lineup going with Vicious and Vengeful Spirit, which both only can target one hero at a time, or one unit at a time. Yeah. So I like how they plugged the hole and had their carries offset with their support slack.
That's a great point. And the Jakiro ban from TMCP, I think, basically mandatory. I think it would be the exact perfect hero to fill out UMAD's composition here. So with Jakiro gone, what are their support options? What's going to fill out this lane?
I could see them going Beastmaster in the off lane. I don't see UW Madison having really the lineup to punish them for going with, a Beastmaster in the offlane. And even with Earthshaker, I mean, it depends on the Earthshaker stuns, but still in the top lane for the Radiant team, Beastmaster still might be able to survive up there, and he gives them the much-needed BKB disable. But there's a whole lot of other things that could go here, too.
Yeah, I think TMCP could definitely. The Beastmaster might be really nice. I'm looking at this UMAD composition. Do you think this could be a Darkseer jungle and Earthshaker doing the Dota 1 banned creep block Fissure? Because they're on Dire.
5 seconds remaining.
Silencer.
Who knows?
Interesting choice with the
I'm not
Silencer.
sure.
It's mid Silencer too?
Yeah, mid Silencer is going to shut down that Storm Spirit. He's not going to be able to hold mana at all. He's going to have to use it up really quick. The wonderful thing about the Silencer, as Silencer's balanced today, is he can spell spam all day, and he still has mana to cast it again.
I guess in mid too, if you Bottle Fairy, your spells are so cheap that that's like several uses out of them every single time you bring it back. Do you see him going that like split curse and last word? Is that what's gonna that was gonna run this?
Well, you know, I always think you need to get a point and glaive, at least one point, so you can control the creeps and you can harass without drawing aggro on the creeps.
Right.
And that's pretty critical. But yeah, other than that, Curse of the Silent and Last Word, I think he'll level those up. I think he'll play this a little bit more passively, and let the other heroes on his team be the aggressor. Because the Silencer can contribute to the fights in the early game while he's pushing one of the side lanes, and his ultimate is global, so he doesn't necessarily have to be there. It helps, but he doesn't necessarily have to be there.
That's a great point. I guess what it doesn't give them is the BKB control, though, because obviously, even if he pops his ultimate, once Alchemist has BKB, and I think we're probably going to see Storm go it as well, they can just respond to that Silencer pretty effectively. So it'll have to be an issue where TMCP, I mean, they're going to want Shibi to have a pretty good time in the lane, and they're going to want to sort of set up those fights where Global Silence is going to be a huge impact before the BKBs come in. But alright, I mean, we're in a little pause while the teams sort out some mic problems. But while we do that, let's go ahead and introduce the teams. On the Radiant side, TMCP, the defending champions, they played as Please Gank Shibi in June, and they reprised, I think, 4 of 5 of the same players for this August tournament. So, Hackleshot supporting on the Visage, MQV on the Vengeful Spirit. They are in an aggressive tri-lane with Barbara Leo on the Razor. And actually, an aggressive tri-lane with these 3 heroes is exactly what they ran in the other game that we watched. So we see a lot of teams really relying on one strat that they're very comfortable with. Meanwhile, Shibi is going to be the team captain, and he's in the mid lane on Silencer. And in the bottom, For My Queen in the solo lane Gyrocopter. Yeah, 4 out of 5 heroes are the same. It's just Puck for Silencer.
Yeah, and you know, the quasi BKB counter that we were talking about earlier, TMCP is going to fight by just not letting them farm up to that level. And with Silencer being a good shutdown for the middle lane and an aggressive tri lane up top, that's what they're banking on. Is that they just shut down the farm and hold the game from there on out. And if the Storm Spirit doesn't get anything, I see a lot of issues on UMAD right now, because other than that, they don't really have the greatest initiation. The Earthshaker is going to have to get sped in by the Darkseer if they're ever really going to want to get a good initiation off.
Yeah. Check your can you check your in-game mic, by the way? Just make sure you're on open mic in-game.
I am. I've changed those settings.
All right, sick. If people aren't hearing it, just go ahead and toggle off the broadcaster channel and toggle it back on. Should be okay. So you wanna introduce UMAT for us?
Sure. We have Spitwad playing on the Storm Spirit in the middle lane, and we're gonna have Johordan on the Alchemist, probably sitting up in the top lane with Gni playing on the Earthshaker and UMAD on the Rubik. And Amoner on the Rubik. Sorry. And Amoner had some great Rubik plays earlier. It was in one of the games that wasn't casted, but he had some great clutch ultimate steals in one of the earlier games.
Was
so I'm
that
excited
in
to
the
see him
2HU
play.
game?
Yeah, it was in the 2HU game. He was stealing Bane ultimates left and right, and it's really hard to prevent someone from stealing Bane's ultimate, but the positioning for him in that game was really hard, and he still managed to pull it off every time.
Nice.
And finally, we got Straylock playing on the Darkseer. Most likely going to be in the bottom lane, just going to be into Gyrocopter, so it's going to be a fairly even trade there.
Yeah, I think that's a perfectly okay lane for Darkseer. He has been pulled a set of wards, so it seems like UMAD might think that it is a tri-lane safe lane, but it's not what they're going to get. So keeping that in mind, what's your take on this 3 vs 3? So Alchemist, Earthshaker, Rubik on the safe Dire versus Visage, Venge, Razor.
I see that Rubik or that Earthshaker getting blown up really quick every single time. And they don't necessarily need to kill the Alchemist to keep him down. They just need to keep him low health and not farming, and they're doing just fine. But with the Razors, if the Razor does go for Plasma Field, his first skill, it does a lot of damage. Vengeful goes for a stun, and then of course you have Soul Assumption, which just does so much, so much damage early on in the game.
Yeah.
I just see him blowing them up one by one and keeping them zoned out.
Yeah, and I think they see themselves blowing them up, because we see Hackle Shots making a little bit of a different decision. With Visage, one of the most interesting things is, or one of the most interesting early game decisions is what to put that very first point in. So Grave Chill controls the positioning of the game a little bit more, but Soul Assumption is just if you want to try to go all in and get kills right from level 1. So he's gone the Soul Assumption this game, with the Grave Chill last game, and so I think they agree with you. I think they think that if they just get a decent Vengeful Spirit initiation, they could just pop somebody immediately. And Rubik and Earthshaker, two heroes that are very, very killable early on. Like, if you land a good Magic Missile positioning, they could just die.
Yeah, and that Rubik doesn't have any stats to begin with. So, you know, GG branches would help go a long way. Because these early game fights can be the difference between one, maybe two last hits. And it's going to hurt him a little bit, I think, in this top lane.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, he's got all of 511 HP, 0 armor. It's gonna not be the funnest time for him. I guess I'm still getting reports that you're having like in-game mic issues. Can you just like toggle open mic off and then back on? That usually fixes it when I mess it up. It's open mic is a little bit wonky in game, but sometimes you can get it to work. Maybe your threshold is high. I just like minimize it. So Strelok will be in this bottom lane as Darkseer. He's going to block the camps to start out with. There's really nobody that's going to be heading into jungle, so this probably won't matter too much. What's up?
I hope that fixed it. Sorry, cool. Guys.
Yeah, I mean, it takes 2 minutes to fight to get any feedback anyway, so it's really hard to debug stuff like that, because everything's on a delay. But yeah, so Earthshaker, I mean, a lot is going to rest on this ES, especially in the early levels, I feel. If the Fissures are just perfectly positioned to give them defensive room, I think UMAD will be just fine to farm up the Alchemist and feel good about themselves. But if they get pressured very heavily, the Fissures aren't on point, and they just get pushed off the lane, losing this tri-lane sets them really, really far behind for their goals overall in the game.
Yeah, and when you've seen Alchemist pick, he's been picked way, you know, almost every game as the carry of choice. But Alchemist alone isn't the key role. It's Alchemist plus supports that make sure Alchemist wins his lane, which has been the problem in the metagame recently.
Right.
Especially when you have a hero like Naga Siren who has net. Net is so strong in the early game. You're never gonna lose a lane with the Alchemist plus net combo. Same with Shadow Demon or Bane or heroes like that set up Alchemist to succeed. I don't think this Rubik plus Earthshaker is necessarily that completely blocks out, gonna let Alchemist succeed lineup. But we'll have to see how it plays.
Yeah, I mean, especially in lanes, so far Razor really, really dominating this. Actually, 3 lanes going quite well for TMCP. Basically a draw in the middle. Should be with 5 for 1, Spitwad with 6 for 0. But this top lane, 5 denies already for Razor, 7 denies for Gyro in the bottom, and they're feeling probably really good about how that's going. They actually let the pull go through, and then they just take advantage of it, quickly mopping up basically the entire creep wave and pulling away the 2 ranged and 1 melee creeps. So far this 3 vs 3 situation going well for TMCP, and I gotta say the solo vs solo is going really well for them as well. Gyro is just mopping up these denies easily.
Yeah, he got pulled a little bit, and that's gonna help him out in the bottom lane. You usually gotta pool health restore items if you're gonna send any sort of hero against the early game Darkseer.
Yeah. Would they? So for UMAD, do you think they would have felt better about the solo lane if they had tried to do some sort of like creep cutting with Darkseer, or did they not anticipate that they would need to do that because they thought it was 1 vs 3?
You know, I think he thinks he's doing fine. It comes down to skill there too. You know, it's not like the Gyro's doing anything special. It's the way that the Darkseer plays it, and you know, maybe he's just getting an outlast hit himself.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, he's stuck only at about 4 to 1. He is cutting a little bit. He's chasing that courier. He's going to haste himself. Maybe he can get this, but it's really, really close under the tower, so it'll be really grim to get stunned out under that tower. And actually, Strelok is a little bit out of position now. He's going to probably get nailed by this homing missile in just a second. Very well-timed surge, actually, but he gets caught out by it. Here comes the rocket barrage. He doesn't have surge. Probably first blood here. For my queen will pick it up. Shibi just managing to hop in there. He doesn't actually get the glaive. That's weird. I really thought he would get one glaive off of that. Maybe he was just out of range?
You're talking... Oh, yeah, about the intelligence steal?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it looked like he did, but I guess he didn't. Maybe he didn't attack fast enough, or...
Well, you just have to be in range, so it must have been a range issue. Excellent fissure from GNE here, completely stopping off that gank. But does that protect Jahordan? It doesn't look like it does. A very nice and stable concoction, and Fake Bolt plus Acid Spray might actually be enough. The Razor is still here. He's taking so much damage. He's at 7 HP. The fissure coming in just 1 second will not be enough. They're actually walking away from this. MQV is one auto attack away. He will actually live. He uses an extremely well-timed healing salve, but the final hit from Amoner will pick that off. Soul Assumption actually to trade for the Earthshaker, and somehow Barbara Leo walks away from this fight even though he loses his 2 supports, and a trade that probably favors TMCP in the end as Razor lives, Alchemist dies.
Yeah, but you know, you gotta think of it this way too. This is early on, and every single one of the players on TMCP had the runaway, and UMAD's gonna get, you know, these very much needed 1 or 2 levels right now of just free farm while they're spending their time walking back into the fight.
Yeah, you're totally right. I mean, Alchemist, who was stuck at about, like, I don't know, 2 last hits, is now all the way up to 7. He's gonna get more. And yeah, I mean, I think that's completely valid. And we do see, Shibi actually in a bit of trouble here potentially if they loop around this gank, but they run straight into hackle shots. The Visage spotting out this attempt, and I think that means Shibi runs away. But yeah, I mean, one thing that we're seeing as we get down into sort of the bigger contender teams is these more responsive skill builds. So we see Alchemist, actually Spitwad. Will he actually get picked off by the end of the last word? It looks like he will be. That's a kill for Shibi. He does get the 2 intelligence from actually getting the kill there, and that's a big advantage in the mid lane. They were pretty much even on last hits, but now that's a kill. He's almost at level 7. Doesn't get his ultimate just yet, but that's already really strong positioning for Silencer.
Yeah, and that was just a long time coming. That's why they had that rotation go around the mid, because Shibi was standing uphill on the other side of the map, and there was nothing that the Storm Spirit could do to get in range anymore. He was doing fine to start off, but he just couldn't handle it anymore, and that's how this lane is going to finish out too.
Yeah,
I mean, it's completely boxed out.
I really like how Shibi is playing this. I actually I didn't want to be like contradictory, but I do really like his build. The thing about it is you need at least 1 rank of glaive, so it's just so hard to fit those ranks of Curse of the Silent in there. Like, you have to level it early or it like tails off. I don't know. I really like his build because he's just harassing constantly. Glaives is basically free and it deals tons of damage, and he maxed that last word super fast, which is like, you have to max it basically.
Yeah, and you know, there he goes. Even though Spitwad is bottle crying, he's getting sent back to base. He doesn't even get a chance to use his mana.
Yeah, I don't think he's playing badly. He's just getting like really hardcore countered by the constant last words. I don't know. What do you as UMAD? Do you actually make a rotation here? Do you try to change up the game, or do you feel that you're doing just well enough that you guys can hang on and get to a later stage?
But I think Storm Spirit accomplished what he needed to, or the best he could have hoped for out of that lane. He hit level 6. I think he needs to be in top lane right now, defending fights like this.
Oh man, I can't believe Jahordan didn't manage to get that kill. They actually Soul Assumption him off. He lives. Visage actually dies to the tower, so that's a critical kill for Alchemist. Just to be able to get on the board is fantastic, because he only has 9 last hits still. But please gank Shibi is just... Sorry. TMCP is just... putting a lot of pressure in basically every single lane. Gyrocopter now with this unusual build of the 3 homing missile. This has actually been pretty useful for him because he keeps getting Strelok to leave the lane or just back off with it. Now that he got that early advantage, including the first blood, he's just able to dominate this lane. Darkseer, uncharacteristically for the hero, is just really not getting the farm he needs. And there's 18 denies for Gyrocopter. Actually, Strelok is rotating into mid, and they're sending Spitwad bottom. So I think this makes a lot of sense. I mean, you pointed out, Justin, that like the Storm, you hit 6, you can rotate, you can move around. at this point, you really aren't going to get much done against Silencer, so you might as well not be there.
Yeah, and what the Storm Spirit was hoping is that he would already by now have some sort of upgrade to his boots, his brown boots, by this point. He doesn't quite have that yet, and without that, he doesn't really feel comfortable enough to die, if anything.
Yeah.
And ooh, he's gonna just get zoned out because this gyrocopter is such a high level, and like you said, that level 3 homing missile, there's nothing he can do.
Oh, can't you ball lightning through it?
It sounds right, but
it's tough to time. Yeah.
You know, really Storm Spirit's the one hero I just don't play, so yeah.
I think if you ball lightning as it's hitting you, we'll see if he tries it this time, because there's another homing missile. Yeah, he got it that time, so that was sick. If he keeps doing that, I actually think Storm has a much better chance in this lane than Darkseer at this point, because Darkseer will get boxed out by that homing, but Storm's probably okay.
Yeah, he's got 1800 gold banked up, so he's just waiting to get a little bit beefier.
For sure. Last time we saw him just go the phase directly into Shadow Blade, and actually last time they won without the gyro needing to leave his lane even once, so maybe that's not a good indication of how this game is going to go, but he's still racking up the denies. Meanwhile, TMCP, they don't want to rest on their laurels. I mean, you characterize them as this very aggressive team. God damn, he's going Midas? Okay. They're smoked up. Visage and Venge probably heading mid to try to pick off Darkseer, or maybe not. It's tough to time, because you obviously have to try to bait out the Surge or somehow ignore it. Shibi, meanwhile, his last little dregs of the DD rune. I don't think they can get this kill without the DD, so it's going to be tricky.
No. Earthshaker's level 4. He's actually only put 1 level into Fissure, and he's leveling up Aftershock. And that's going to give him is every time you level up Fissure, yeah, the damage goes up, but the mana cost goes up too. And so he's playing a very conservative build.
Yeah, I mean, I think he just feels that he's not going to be able to improve the mana pool. They're not going to get that many arcane boots, and he'd rather have the very mana efficient build. But while they try to get farm up top, they do pull off the gank on Darkseer very effectively. That rank 4 Last Word just does such incredibly beefy damage. Meanwhile, Barbalio, he's trapped a little bit. The static link is going off, so Alchemist will not be able to deal damage. The Fissure wide of the mark completely, but they managed to bring him down. He stayed very, very long inside that Acid Spray and got Enchant Totemed up within it. But now the turnaround, Jahordan, he's slowed down. A nice Aftershock once again. Hackle Shot's probably going to get brought down. Alchemist walks away from this fight, but Shibi mopping it up. He gets stunned by Earthshaker again. GNE with excellent plays, but not enough to bring down Silencer. He walks away from the fight with another kill. Dominating streak for him. There's the unstable concoction, just brings him to about 80 HP, and I think TMCP walk away from this with another fight tucked under their belts.
Yeah, I'm sure Shibi would have loved to have a triple kill there. He almost got it on each hero. He just hesitated and didn't get that last hit off. But it's also in that fight, he didn't use his ultimate. So he still has that ultimate for time in the future.
That's a great point. I mean, it's a pretty long CD, but it can just be a completely backbreaking effect. We talked about how once the BKBs are up for UMAT, it's going to be a lot more difficult, but I mean, it's that aggressive style. Please Gang Shippy has put so much pressure on UMAD that it's going to take ages for them to actually get those BKBs up. And that's without even talking about the gyrocopter. So Midas Gyro, not something we usually see, but have they just made so much room that he's going to feel comfortable with this?
Oh yeah, I mean they know they have the advantage right now. So he's their safety factor, and they're going to run around as 4, just trying to win the game with the 4 heroes and just opening up room for this gyro to carry them out in the end, in case they don't win all the team fights.
Right.
But if the gyros running around the map with them at all times, they do put themselves more at a risk of losing the game, because they haven't been pushing out anything or letting anyone farm.
Here goes on for my queen. Nice silencer, global silence timing. Will this gank actually fail? He puts down a call down to cover his escape, and here's Razor. For my queen is actually still alive, and Spitwad is completely out of mana. Last word might actually bring him down. Will it? Yes, it will. Shibi gets a mega kill streak, and GNE and Amon are forced to leave from a gank that they themselves set up. The courier way out of position right now, but it's going to head back. It was bringing the Trank Boots, not much of anything really, just bringing the bottle back to Spitwad, and they lose the Storm Spirit from that gank. The Gyro, the Midas Gyro survives. We were just talking about how he wants to play safe and they want to play with 4. I think UMAD, the idea was right, like try to get that gank, but they ran out of mana and the amazing timing on the global silence that he had saved up the cooldown for, and now they're beyond the tier 1. You can just see TMCP's confidence at the fact that they can take this game, they can take the map positioning and just pressure UMAD off of any target. And I mean, what's the saving grace here? I guess Alchemist finds farm towards the BKB?
Yeah, I mean, they had, during that fight, even though they didn't necessarily win it, they have Darkseer finding some farm, and they had Alchemist find some farm, and they're doing okay and not getting completely thrown behind just because they didn't get a kill.
Sure.
They didn't get time.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely right. Alchemist now roughly at about the net worth of Razor, so he's getting there. They really, really want this BKB for him, I think, so being able to move towards that fast BKB is pretty critical. They do have excellent warding as well, so UMAD doing a good job of warding all the spots to protect their Alchemist's farm. They TP in Rubik. Is Rubik Alchemist enough to stop Silencer, though? I guess Shibby thinks so, because he backs off.
Yeah, he has a double damage, so he won the play, but he doesn't have his silence there, and against those two heroes, he was gonna get disabled no matter what.
Yeah. He does have 4 staff, so that will give him a little bit of better positioning as the game goes on. And now, you see Barber Leo, he's going to be the mech carrier here, which is very, very smart, I think. And he just wants to stabilize and get his mech and start building more tanky items from there. So, Razor, I think a good utility role, complementing the Silencer and the Gyro. These are actually 2 fairly common mech building carries, both Razor and Silencer. But Shibby's, he's getting so far ahead that I guess they don't want to slow down and get the mechanism up here.
Yeah, no, I mean, carry Silencer is actually not that bad. With his Glaives of Wisdom maxed out, and just like Pudge, where he just gains a momentum after getting some kills, he can do a lot of damage. And the one great thing about Glaives of Wisdom is it's pure damage.
Right.
So no matter how many armor, the Assault Cuirass isn't going to do anything.
Not just that, both that and Nullfield both won't reduce it. There's a lot of orbs that just do magic damage. Rubik is actually pretty good against them once he gets levels. But yeah, neither armor nor any sort of magic resistance effect is going to help them. I mean, Silencer, yeah, we used to see him a lot as a carry. When Absolute Legends had the Australian team, they ran a carry quite a bit.
Yeah, and he's changed recently. And he's such an underutilized hero, I think, in the metagame right now. And he's underutilized because too many teams try to play him as an under-leveled role, and that just doesn't work. Silencer does so well with levels.
Sure. VP have definitely found some success with him as a support, but they weren't really able to take it to I guess. Meanwhile, Forma Queen just continues to farm and farm and farm bottom. He's actually been exceeded in last hits by Shibby, but he does have that Midas. Building towards his BKB, he's about halfway there, I would say, and Spitwad, what do you actually build on Storm here? Oh, hold that thought. They're actually using an ultimate to try to actually secure the tower last hit. Strelok still denies it and they back off, but still, no real damage suffered. And actually, will he run out on his Alchemist stun timing? This could be a huge problem. He stuns himself. The last word is there. The magic missile to follow. Static Link as well. Alchemist goes down. The Fissure to cover their retreat, and UMAD. They lose Alchemist once again, and another. For the Encore, the Soul Assumption rank 4 blasts Rubik off the map, and I don't know, can they be stopped at this point? Nice vac.
If they get something like that off a little bit earlier, ES stun, but looks like they're still doing pretty well in this fight.
Nice familiar stun actually stops that fight in its tracks. That's almost a turn for UMAD, but just not quite every element falling into place. They had an excellent vac. I think Spitwad's okay. Yeah, he lives through this, but he just didn't have the mana. Again, because of his under-leveled early start, I mean, 2 Mantles of Intelligence plus Treads, he doesn't have the mana to jump in and then make anything happen. He just has enough mana to get the jump in, and then nothing following up from that. And so they came about 70% of the way to mopping up TMCP, but instead they just lost another couple of heroes in the attempt. Yeah, I mean, good execution on a team fight. You can never count the Darkseer team out, I guess, but they're definitely struggling to stop this Silencer-based composition. Forma Queen, he might get ganked here. Here comes Spitwad. Gonna shut him down. There's the Electric Vortex. A lot of damage getting thrown out. The stun chain from GNE. And the great thing about this Aftershock build, though, is that he is able to just chain stun without running out of mana.
Yeah. Yeah, and he knows he wasn't going to get any gold, and he knows his team's not going to push anything anytime soon in this game. So it really fit his situation very well.
Yeah. Hackle shots, meanwhile, wow, this Visage is just chasing Storm Spirit off. Not every day you see a Visage just bossing around Storm, but I mean, Spitwad, he has had a tough time. He had a very tough time in the lane. Started out okay, but then Silencer just, as he gets those levels, once he gets close to max last word, just the amount of damage that nuke deals, in addition to how much pressure it puts on you, because you can't last hit unless you use the spell while under it. Like, I don't know. It's tough. This hero's been cleaning up this game.
And I'm a little bit confused looking at some of the builds on TMCP. The Razor has a mechanism, and we have the Vengeful Spirit working on her mechanism.
Ooh.
So it looks like they're gonna have 2 mechanisms. Which...
Oh man, that's pretty grim, gamers. Yeah, I didn't notice that, but they totally have 2 mechs. Maybe it's Pipe for Revenge, and she'll just keep the Buckler because the Buckler active is super underrated and it's sick.
Does it stack though?
It does. It does. It does stack with mech, I think.
Okay.
I think it does. I'm pretty sure it does.
I wouldn't think it does, but you know, I guess that's one of the things I'm not the most knowledgeable
about.
about.
Here's the thing. Yeah, I don't know, but I think they stack, but I have no idea. I'm not good enough at mechanics to know that. Anyway, I don't think that's why they did it. I just think they could still do it.
Yeah, and the Razor doesn't have his ultimate yet either. He's
yeah.
up to max both of his spellcasting abilities.
So that's really interesting. It's the Pycat build, I think he does that too. But it's weird because his ult is really good.
Yeah, it does good, but you know it is a huge mana cost. And early on in the game, Razor likes his first skill for early on in the game does a surreal amount of damage. And if you can save your mana to use that multiple times in a team fight, you're going to be better off than the ultimate. And the ultimate, one of its saving grace is that it reduces armor every time it hits.
Yeah.
And that's something that helps you out later on in the game, not necessarily early on in the game.
That's a good point. The other thing is, because he did go Mechanism for his team, he doesn't have as much mana as he normally would, because he has to save up 150 extra mana to actually use the Mechanism. But he picks up his ult. I mean, after level 10 would be really weird, but he does take it at 10. He'll probably take rank 2 at 11. And it's paid off for them so far, just having the beefier static link and plasma field. Yeah, they're just sieging the tier 2. A lot of damage being dealt to it. You just see UMAD, they don't feel like they have the positioning. They don't get the... Ooh, nice silence combined with the Visage stuns. They're gonna at least catch Ammoner. There's the static link coming through. The last word probably secures this. Nice defensive fissure, but they're just chased up to their high ground. A decent vacuum Strelok. He puts the wall down a little bit late. GNE brought down by another Soul Assumption. Homing Missile will hit Alchemist. He's extremely low as well. Visage could mop this up if he wanted to. They're just chased back completely. Another Soul Assumption, and it's just... the damage, it just withers away UMAD's team, and even though TMCP are forced to retreat afterwards, they retreat with a pretty big coin purse from that fight, losing nothing, gaining a number of extra kills, and that just sets them way, way ahead.
Yeah, you know, UMAD almost had that fight, but their spells just weren't quite coordinated they wanted to, and the reason was really the Silencer and the threat of all the other heroes were just throwing them out of position. You know, that Darkseer was very close to just getting them all in combination with the Earthshaker.
Right.
But they just missed it by a second, and that was enough to throw them off. And that was the difference there between one team being wiped or the other.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, just the timing, the vac came through, and it was a really good vac. And I think the Echo Slam, yeah, I mean, the Echo Slam came through, and it was fine. But just not everything came together, and yeah, I think you definitely have to say that Silencer was a huge portion of that. He's just jumping in, he doesn't care at all at this point. GNE trying to respond as best he can, but he gets silenced, can't chain the stuns together. And actually a pretty easy kill for Shibby, all things considered. Picks up another stack, now up to 22 stolen intelligence. 101 int on the Silencer. I think that means, yeah, he gets an extra 80 pure on every auto attack at this point.
Yeah, he has a Ghost Scepter, so he has that extra thing of defense on top of the force stuff. That he's pretty hard to kill unless you all focus on him.
And he can still manual cast glaives while ghosted, right? Like Huskar stuff.
Yes. Yes.
That's sick. They're gonna parlay it into a Roshan, and I think UMAD probably doesn't feel like they can do much about this. They do have that Wave of Terror from Venge. It's a decent way to reduce Roshan's armor and really cripple his effective HP because he's a low armor target. They're just bashing away at it. No medallion is the one thing that surprises me. I really thought Visage would get it. Shibby, he gets pushed up to the top with Vac, a very good Vac, and he just immediately goes set just to make sure he's safe. That's probably the rest of this Roshan. They'll put it up on For My Queen on the Gyrocopter. His BKB is done, 1,700 gold on top of that, and this could actually be the death push if they want to do it. Silencer now with Mystic Staff, probably Scythe of Vice, and oh my god, they're pretty ahead. They've got a lot of items.
Yeah, there's 234 gold per minute on that Alchemist. He got shut out completely.
Right.
And that's how you beat him. You shut him out and you take over the map. Alchemist is never going to be able to do anything.
Yeah.
And it was very well executed by TMCP.
Definitely. Spitwad has been able to farm up pretty well, actually. He's now exceeded Alchemist's net worth, but he gets caught out by Shibby. There's the couple more hits. He doesn't even manage to TP out. He responded as quickly as he was physically able to, and I think everything he did was smart. It's just that the silencer is too freaking enormous. He's just doing tremendous amounts of damage, even just on his basic auto attacks. And Spitwad, I was just saying, he managed to get some farm. He's actually pretty... he was close to Orchid. That took him a decent distance away.
Yeah, it's just the skill build of Silencer now. He just has such a combo that just can shut anybody out. We don't see him enough in the metagame as, you know, a hero that solos and gains levels.
Sure.
It's a shame because he can shut out Spitwad so well, and
Yeah.
Spitwad's a great player. It's not really his fault here, and I wouldn't blame him for what happened. The Silencer just got to level 5 and it was game over for him.
Yeah, it was definitely a really, really hard lane. I do want to shout out Hackle Shots real quick, because he's making my favorite Visage item, Atos. He's going straight Atos. So good. Really underrated item. I actually just earlier on stream commented on how much I like Atos on Visage, so I don't know if he was just if he was already going to go it or if he's going in response. But either way, legit choices.
Yeah, so UMed right now is trying to collect themselves. They are doing a good job trying to push out all the side lanes and only coming and defend in the last moment. However, Alchemist is a hero that, you know, isn't going to be able to participate in that at all.
Right.
He does have his BKB now, so
Yeah.
they might feel like they have a chance in the next fight, but the position of this tier 2 tower for them is just not anywhere where they want to bother at all.
They can fight, but definitely not a tier 2. They probably have to wait for the high ground. And Jahordan, actually, this is inauspicious timing completely. He runs out of Chemical Rage just as TMCP heads towards the high ground. So they need to delay for at least 10 seconds. There's really no way that they can fight this without Alkin Chemical Rage form. He has his BKB. That's a big deal against, honestly, against just about everybody, but particularly Visage and Silencer. MQV, they try to catch him up on the high ground. Doesn't quite work out. Here comes Spitwad, but he uses his entire mana pool for this. He actually can't get back up to the high ground just yet. This is troublesome. Here comes the call down. Silencer raining damage off of them. Strelok is down, doesn't manage to get his wall combo off, and Jahordan runs out of BKB timing. They swap him immediately after. That's everybody basically down. Excellent Echo Slam combined with the Aftershock and the Fissure and the W. He manages to basically bring down 3 people. That's the Aegis Reformer Queen. Strelok bought back, but that was all their buybacks. They did their best, and unfortunately they still managed to lose the fight, although definitely the most respectable fight for UMad so far.
Yeah, and what was important in that fight is they were able to hold off long enough to get that tower in the bottom lane, and that gave the Earthshaker enough gold to buy back. So him being able to buy back in that moment was perfect.
Definitely.
But that Silencer ult just came off of cooldown halfway through that fight, and it was over for them.
Yeah, it's so incredibly disruptive to their plans, and especially just that Darkseer Earthshaker combo gets so completely screwed over when right in the middle of it you can just have a Silencer ult on your heads. Actually, old Silencer would have screwed this over even harder because the old last word that auto-silenced everybody, that would have just made this lineup completely unworkable. But as we're seeing, even new Silencer can just ruin this. He's 12-0-6. That's kind of disgusting, actually.
Yeah, it is disgusting, but it makes me smile. It's happy to see how aggressive they can be and get away with it. Because that's the type of Dota I like to watch.
Aggressive Dota? You don't like the 100-minute...
I don't like Rat Dota. I don't like those defensive Dotas. And if you've looked at Ice Frog's patch changes, his patch notes, over the past few years, everything he's done is pretty much going into letting aggressive playstyles succeed more.
Sure.
You know, they get rid of wards. They get rid of... they add smoke into the game. The way they've reworked all the heroes, it's harder to defend. I mean, it's been a few years now, but when they changed TPs, you can't all TP the same tower at the same time.
When they added the longer cast for the subsequent ones,
yeah. He's done a lot of things that has changed the game to allow for these aggressive playstyles to work. And it's great for observers, too, because these these high risk, high reward lineups are the most exciting ones to see, and for the players, they're some of the most favorite playstyles for them to play.
Sure. I mean, I don't mind the occasional grueler, definitely, but yeah, it's a fantastic point, and definitely this team, TMCP or Please Gang Shibi or whatever they'll call themselves next week, they definitely play a very, very aggressive, almost hyperactive style of Dota, but what I do like that they're doing is they do it with a backup plan ready, too, so they'll go these lineups that can do these like 3v3, 4v4 clashes, and they'll farm somebody up on the back of it. So in both games that we've seen from them today, and this is actually a new twist, because when we saw them in June, it was just all-out balls-to-the-wall 5-player aggression from moment one. But here, like, with this Midas Gyro, even if they were doing worse, like it wasn't 24-9, I feel like the Gyro would be farming up towards like a really big advantage anyway. So I do like the combination of aggression. It's not just senseless, right? It's like they also have a plan to play the long game if they need to.
Yeah, it's a different style of a 4 protect 1 in the sense that, well, yeah, in the sense that they're not necessarily protecting them. They're creating space for them.
Right.
And it's the playstyle that Navi has played for years. I'm gonna let this go.
Here we go. The global silence comes out. Alchemist is in the middle of BKB, so he's going to be okay, except for the fact that he simply is not able to survive. Barbara Leo smacking him down and stealing a ton of damage from it. Strelok goes down without casting a single spell, and that's the power of the global silence. That's the power of their ability to completely shut down UMAD's plans. A beyond godlike streak for Shibi. Almost gets pulled into the fountain by Spitwad, but doesn't quite manage to do so. Here comes the stun from Jordan. They might finally be able to get Silencer. He's sitting inside of the acid spray. They finally kill him. 962 gold is the final bounty for his sake, but that's all they get. They trade Silencer for their entire team. Buyback came out for Alchemist, and there's no way that he manages to defend this. The Tier 3 and the Rack's already gone in top. First lane secure for TMCP, and after that Silencer buyback, I just see them going in for another lane. UMAD, I guess the saving grace is Silencer ultimate down, and every ultimate for them is still up.
Yeah, but, you know, the TMCP opted to push that top lane first. And that's really, as the game goes late, that's the hardest one to then push in the very, very late game scenario.
Right.
So they got the hard one out of the way, and it's all downhill from there. But
sure.
Let's see if they can get a combination off, because they're fighting without the silencer all.
Yeah, they
might be able to get a combination.
They just don't feel comfortable going low ground, I guess. They don't want to fight outside of their base. So even though that was a pretty good concoction landed on Hackle Shots and Barbaleo, UMAD just didn't feel comfortable with it. Storm decides not to hold buyback, so he's buying out for the Orchid. They know that they need a little bit extra. There's the vac! There's the wall! Here comes Storm Spirit! There's the Echo Slam! They're going to follow up with the additional spells from Earthshaker. That brings down 2, but an ultra kill for Gyrocopter. Delivered his MKB in the course of that fight, and the flip side of putting all your opponents into one place is you have to go in that place to fight them, and UMAD, even in the full flowering of their combo, even in casting all of their spells at the same time, they still get wiped, and I think that probably sends them into the lower bracket. So, would you say that this was mainly draft and laning, or was it execution for TMCP?
You know, I think that Silencer last pick to counter that Storm Spirit just threw UMAD off. They weren't ready for it. They weren't even, I doubt they were even thinking about it. And even if they were, you know, it just didn't work out for them. And Storm Spirit is one of those heroes that needs momentum. And if he doesn't get it, his team is always going to struggle.
Right.
And that's just what happened.
Yeah. So, I mean, honestly, I think it's not so bad in an early round like this to feel like you lose more draft than execution. Like, if they feel that they just got out-drafted, that's something that you can fix for tomorrow. They're not eliminated. They will probably be sent into the lower bracket in just a second as Strelok gets picked off by Hackleshot's Visage. He actually doesn't. He still needs an extra Soul Assumption to throw out. He decides to do it on Jahordan. There's the trade-off for the Unstable Concoction. They might try to vac people into the fountain here. But For My Queen clearly doesn't care as he just walks into the fountain. Shibi just using his Ghost Scepter to come in, Force Staff to come out. Bing bang boom, ultra kill for Silencer. I guess, like I was saying, like, it's okay to lose draft-based this early, because you're like, okay, we'll just fix our draft for tomorrow. We didn't get, like, outplayed or anything. Because TMCP right now, looking every bit like they are happy and willing to defend their championship.
Yeah, you know, TMC is playing to their game, and yeah, you know, you gotta you got to be able to knock top teams out of their game if you really want to take them out of what it is. And yeah, you're right. They had an Alchemist pick. They picked that Alchemist first, but they didn't pick around him like they needed to. And you know, next time they have skilled players, and you know, this game could have looked a lot worse. A lot worse.
Definitely.
I think they did a very good job for the heroes they had, and if they changed up their draft a little bit, you know, it might be a much closer game.
Yeah, at the end
tomorrow.
of the day, yeah, I agree with you, and that silencer really just the combo came so close so many times, and by the time they actually landed the full combo, because silencer ultimate was down, it was too late to make anything of it, but. It was pretty good play from UMAD. I think they're still very much a competitor in this competition. They'll get sent down to the lower bracket. TMCP, meanwhile, advances to the losers bracket. Sorry, the winners bracket finals? Semifinals? I'm not even sure. The next round of the winners bracket at any rate. So, excellent play by TMCP, of course, looking like they want to defend their title. And thanks so much for watching, folks. This is actually the last game. I have to get the hell out of here because I need to make an 8:50 movie Uptown. But thank you so much, Justin, for co-casting. You want to promote anything? Twitter, anything like that?
Nah, I'm pretty good. I'm famous, so, you know, I'm known around. No, but thank you very much for the opportunity. I was glad to see these games today.
Yeah, it was definitely fantastic, and that'll be our sign-off for today. We still have, after the end of this series of games, 6 teams in the Chicago Dota 2 Open. We'll come back tomorrow morning. That'll be 11. The stream will start about 10:30 a.m. Central Time, so that's 11:30 Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Central European Time. So, hope to see you guys there. We'll get towards the finals. This was the Chicago Dota 2 Open. Ignite Gaming Lounge, sponsored by SteelSeries, Dustoff, Ignite, Merlini Dota. And so tomorrow, we'll crown a champion, and we'll have some 1v1 mids against Merlini, so that should be fun too. Thanks so much for watching, folks. I have to run. People are mad at me. I'll just get the hell out of here. Thanks.